Welcome to another episode of Wisdom to Wealth. I am John Davis Marshall, your lifestyle architect. Remember, each Thursday, we explore finance matters. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video with every person that you can. If my coaching can benefit your professional life or my counseling can benefit your personal life, then extend your experience with me. You may do that by way of pms123.com. And while you're there on my website, subscribe to Matters Magazine. It's a monthly magazine that contains motivational, inspirational, uplifting articles that will bless your life. And while you're there, browse through wisdom wares. Wisdom wares give you an opportunity to make a bold and powerful statement in public without ever opening your mouth. And while you're there, purchase your copy of this book, Faith, Family, and Finances, Volume 1, because that book contains the content that we'll be sharing with you in this session today. Adam and Eve, the first two human beings, gave birth to two sons, Cain and Abel. God inherently connected the Adam and Eve story of Genesis chapter 2 and 3 to the Cain and Abel story of Genesis chapter 4, because both stories addresses God's honorarium. Yes, you'll see that in a moment. God designated some fruit for himself in Genesis 2, verses 16 and 17. He said to Adam, don't eat this. This is produced, but you can't have it. This is mine. By refusing to give God his honorarium, Adam and Eve ate the fruit that God had reserved for himself. And when they did that, they replaced what God had said with what Eve thought she had seen. God had established a principle of receiving a portion of that which he had given or allowed his people to accumulate. And then sometime later, Cain gave an honorarium to the Lord, but he took his time in doing so. The Bible refers to his priority as the course of time. Genesis 4 and verse 3, some translations will say that in the process of time. Other translations will say in the course of time. In other words, Cain just brought an offering to God when he got around to it. It is obvious he did not make giving his offering a priority. In practice, he said, God, I will give you what I'm going to give you when I decide to give it to you. It's not going to be a priority. It's when I get around to it. But then his brother Abel also gave an honorarium to the Lord by bringing a sizable portion from among the first fruits of his stock. Genesis 4 and verse 4. Read verses 3 and 4 carefully, and you will discover that the Genesis writer is contrasting the priority of their offering. Abel gave the first thing. Cain gave when he got around to it. God doesn't operate like that. God has a timetable, and he wants to be of priority. Now, God often responds favorably toward our offering, as he did toward Abel's offering. Listen to the verse. Abel, on his part, also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of their fat thereof. He brought first sufficient, and the Lord had regard for Abel and for his offering. That word regard means he had respect. That comes from the Hebrew word meaning to gaze or to set one's face favorably. So God he gazed at Abel's offering favorably. That's what he did. All right. Now, Peter, who was an apostle, presented this concept when he described the favor of God as his face being toward those whom he favored. Listen to this Bible verse. For the eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous, and his ears attend to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 12. When the Lord's face shines, he is gracious toward you. To the Israelites, Moses equated the blessing of God with him making his face to shine upon them. Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. David prayed for the Lord to keep his face toward him so that his loving kindness would remain. 2 Chronicles chapter 6, verse 42 through chapter 7 and verse number 15. The Lord to turn his face toward us is to keep in place his loving kindness and his glory. But now at other times, God responds unfavorably toward our offering, as he did toward Cain's. Listen to verse 5 of Genesis 4. But for Cain and for his offering, talking about God, he had no regard. So Cain became very angry, and his countenance fell. No regard meant that God had no respect. God disrespected Cain and his offering, and he rejected it. He rejected it. When God set his face against the Israelites, they became physically ill and vulnerable to their enemies. Leviticus chapter 26, verses 14 through 17. And Deuteronomy chapter 31, verses 16 through 18. God responded differently to both Abel and Cain's offering. Likewise, God may respond differently to our offering to him, because he responds according to the person. He responds according to the person. Do you want God to gaze on your offering? You want him to look favorably? Give him his honorarium. Give him promptly. Don't delay what you're doing for God. Make him a priority. And then give him adequately. And he will favor your life and you'll enjoy bountiful blessings. Remember, I'm your lifestyle architect. If my coaching can benefit your professional life, or my counseling can benefit your personal life, then extend your experience with me by way of my website, pms123.com. And while you're there, bless your life, order this book, Faith, Family, and Finances, and you can discover the information we have just covered in this book along with much other information as well. Indeed, it is true. A better you. Be encouraged, my friend.